G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a P30L. This is a German-made weapon by Heckler & Koch and was designed around 2006, so it's a very modern pistol. You can tell by the ergonomic-looking grip there. The L means long slide, so you get a little bit of extra muzzle velocity out of it compared to the standard slide lengths, because obviously the barrel is encased within that slide. So a bit of trivia for you. This thing has custom sounds and reload animations as well, and I can recognize the attachment setup being fairly similar to what we've already seen before, so we'll quickly go through it. I've also got a deliverer and a 10mm pistol here for a quick comparison when we get this thing all souped up in its upgrades. So right now we've got the factory receiver. You can go up to advanced. That's basically the same as what you'd find a 44 Magnum. No chance to make this automatic either. We're stuck with semi-auto versions, so we'll be comparing them to semi-automatic pistol versions, of course. Now, for the barrels, we've got a heavy or a lightweight barrel. The heavy one increases your accuracy and range substantially. It does increase your AP cost, but it's a pistol anyway, so chances are your AP cost isn't going to be that high. Anyway, you can make that reload animation faster if you want, and that's what we'll do for performance reasons, and we can have a compensator on it, which is a very long cage looking thing. It's also got an extra Picatinny rail there. Wonder if that actually adds an attachment point. I guess we'll find out later. But we've also got a suppressor, which gives us 169 damage. Needs sneak rank 2, funnily enough, to equip that, so that's pretty cool. We'll move on. Legendary effect is there if you need it. We've also got a tactical here, which can be a surefire. It's a tactical light on the bottom. There's also a little knife on it. I'm questioning the practicality of this, especially when there's a suppressor protruding further out than the blade itself. But, you know, you might cut something with it. I don't know, like a blade of grass is too high in your way. You can probably cut it with this. Perhaps not the most practical use of the tactical slot here, so we'll just go for a Steiner S-Bell PL thing. Why not? And if you equip these, you get a little bit of extra attachment options, including what kind of laser you'll see the thing actually shooting. So you can go green, a dot version of each, and also blue and red, or completely off if you don't want it. We'll go for a nice blue laser. Why not? That's cool. And next up, we can choose to give this thing extra damage if we want, or reduce the damage, but why would you? Also, minus 25% says, you masochist. Funnily enough, that's it. I don't think there's much else other than this flashlight. You can either make it inactive, which you use your Pip-Boy flashlight, or active, which you use the flashlight seen just under the laser beam there. And it looks like there's nothing in the... There's no sights here. You get the iron sights and that's it. That's kind of like a deliverer sort of setup there with the glowing iron sights. Okay, comparison time. Key things here are the damage numbers, obviously damage per shot in this case, and the range numbers. So for the 10mm pistol, we increase our damage substantially and a little bit of extra range as well. And the deliverer, the gap is less between damage, but we still outrange this thing just by a slight amount. You probably won't notice it, but having that a little bit of extra range might give you a couple of percentage points better VAT accuracy at a distance where these things would be slightly less good. Although this one has the legendary effects there, which will increase its effectiveness in VATs anyway, but that's just because it's the deliverer. Anyway, so let's talk about getting this thing. On your chemistry workbench, you'll find a sub-menu called Weapon P30L, which you can use to craft this thing with gun nut rank 2 and all of these attachments. Components, actually, that's the word. So we'll make one more of those. We'll have an unsuppressed variant of this so you can hear this thing loud and proud. Let's shoot things. Okay, so that's what my unsuppressed variant is going to look like. We're going to get a lot of use out of this little bayonet knife we've got on the front of this. Also worth mentioning, on the Nexus page, there is currently an option to inject this thing into the level list. So if you find it a little bit more realistic than just crafting it from a chemistry workbench, you can make enemies carry it, then you can loot it from them. You don't have to ask where it come from if it's on an NPC. Righto, so outside Immersive Gunners Plaza, as we usually do, and here is our P30L in first person. Looks pretty cool. That laser sight is working. You can just see the blue laser sight if you look in third person, but it's not really noticeable in first person. It's nice and subtle. The bashing animation looks like that, and the one with the bayonet, you actually get a cool double bash animation. So if you want to quickly back-to-back pistol whip someone, then you've got a pretty good option to do that. Guaranteed to blow up cars if you shoot it a few times beforehand. A quick look in third person, I think, is in order. That's what it looks like. Pretty cool. nothing that I can say about this model would be disparaging. It's a good-looking model. The animations have been pretty good so far. Now, the question is whether this thing will perform in combat. Now, using a pistol like this is kind of, well, it's not going to be the strongest weapon to use, especially when you think about some of the crazy automatic rifles or gigantic sniper rifles I've used in the past. So, we're gonna have a crack. I think we killed someone there. That's great. I'm just gonna crit this thing. I'm just gonna use this thing in VATS as much as possible. We've got the McCreary perk at our disposal here, and the VATS keeps going into fast motion because I keep getting the New Vegas slowdown kill and entering VATS as that wears off. Okay, that's better. Let's regain some of our crits back at the moment. That's good. 735 damage is quite a lot. And getting it from all the way back there, that might be on the edge of this thing's effective range, but that extra little bit of range we get compared to the Deliverer, I think is pretty nice. And you can tell there that second crit on them. I don't know if that's a little bit of gun fill action happening there, but we'll see how we go. That's 1,000 damage I got on that one. That's really strong, like really scarily strong. And there we go. There's more real-time VATS, which is always odd to see. And there they go again. That's just gonna keep happening, is it? Fine. So a little bit of, well, a little bit less effective when I'm not spamming crits with it, of course, but you know, if I can get those headshots and playing to a pistol's strength, that is what's going to happen here if I use it in VATS. And getting all of these shots in, it's a very easy weapon to use, especially if you would prefer to use it in VATS. Hang on, there's a Mantis over there. I'm going to use this guy's face to generate crits. So, we'll just let this happen. There we go, I'm getting a couple of shots in now. Unfortunately, finished the job before I was able to actually get any crits back, but we'll keep going. The amount of damage we get here, despite not getting sneak criticals, is actually still kind of good. I don't mind it. And we should be getting into actual danger now? No. I guess the sneaky James Bond nature of this is doing well. I think they've actually found old mate Tactical over there. I suppose we'll use this time to sneak up, gain a little bit of ground before we head over to the next thing. I'll switch over to the suppressed or the unsuppressed variant when we get detected, but that hasn't been the case yet. Not quite yet. If we stick to the shadows, we'll be just fine. Okay, it's go time. I don't know how that guy saw me from around the corner, but it is what it is. We had a pretty good run there with VATS, so I'm pretty sure I can take these guys out with pretty good accuracy. Hang on. It's a very target-rich environment here, which should probably be a little bit cautious about. Whoa! Did I just get 1,000 damage for a critical bash? Okay. Well, that might be what I'm going to be doing now. One of these guys had an irradiated weapon. That's actually recharging the energy shields there, so thanks for that. Wow, this bayonet is actually... if I get those crits... And even if I'm not, the bash damage here is actually kind of gnarly. I don't mind that. One magazine and I get to kill a dude. Rewarded for my accuracy. And if I want to shoot them and then finish them off with a knifey pokey to the face, then that's totally okay. Wow. Okay. I was a little bit worried about this thing and its performance going into Immersive Gunner's Plaza, but it looks like this thing is proper endgame hardware here, which is good. Perhaps unusual, seeing as it's not some high-tech energy weapon. It's just a pistol that the police might use nowadays, but I don't mind it. A little bit of extra power for your endgame weapons, and... okay. I just somehow threw that gunner under my shoulder over the edge there. I don't really know what that was. It was really odd. The recoil on this thing, if you smash the trigger, if you just crunch it, is not going to throw your aim out either. So the weapon feels very consistent, nice and accurate, as I'm being sprayed with a bullet that is probably covered in blood. Okay, things have been going pretty well. This has been a pretty smooth little operation there. Granted, of course, the VATS that I did at the start sort of swung things in my favor a little bit, but who am I to not play to a pistol's strengths? And sometimes I forget to use VATS entirely. And, you know, you gotta make up for it by overcompensating and overusing VATS the next video, of course. Ha, staggered her through there. Okay, that's Nerd Rage now. Looking to activate that at a more opportune moment, of course. Pop a fresh magazine in, and that guy's pointing at Gustav. Really pissed off going into this door unlocking. And before this guy gets his Gustav off, we'll go ahead and pop a cap in his ass, as they say. Maybe a quick reload. And back again. You won't fire that at point blank range. You haven't got the guts. Alright, so looks like we're pretty much done here, and not a single crash to speak of. Thanks, updated graphics driver. That was pretty helpful. We're seeming to be firing the bullets sideways now, but I think we're a little bit distracted at the moment. Yes, head tracking is trying to look at something else. That happens every now and then. Sometimes your head tracking gets stuck on things, but anyways, regardless, it looks like we've actually done that, and it's done that pretty handily there. I'm actually quite surprised on how that went. So, also, another thing about this weapon is you can big iron on your hip it. You can see it just there. Pretty good looking weapon. Alright, let's take on the Mighty Swan, using a suppressed one first, of course, and there's always that bloody super mutant who lives in there. Gotta take him out first, and once we do, we should be able to get started on Swan, provided there's nothing around him. He's actually totally friendly. Not for long, of course. We'll get as much shots on him as possible whilst we're in this sneaky caution state, and then we'll probably bring out the loud and proud one once again. Or we could just, like, shoot him from under here. Do you have any idea where we are? No. Good old Bethesda AI right here. Well, this will never do. Well, I still want to finish this off with the bayonet, so we'll try to orchestrate that. We just got to get him low enough, perhaps me to get in Nerd Rage. Just got to, maybe another rock will do the job. Not one more big hit. Okay, that's actually Nerd Rage there. That's good. Maybe stab him. We're hoping for a critical. There we go. Stabbed him in the kneecap, killed him with the tiny little bayonet. Don't let anyone tell you that tiny little blade on the front of the pistol isn't effective, because it worked here, and oh good. I reloaded the save so the head tracking thing would go away, and now we're doing this again. I'm gonna have to reinstall that the rusty face fix, because this is not funny. Okay, one more monster and we'll call it. So there's the Wendigo down there, and I'm going to crit spam the hell out of this guy. We'll see how we go. It's not too bad, 600 damage, but you could probably do better. That's actually not as much as I was getting over just the standard sneak criticals. You'd think adding a crit over the top of that would have made it much more effective than it was, but alas, that's how the cookie crumbles in this case. Now, we're getting slightly better damage with our suppressed variant over the unsuppressed, so we'll keep that out for the duration of this fight. But I think you get the idea of this thing by now. For a weapon that is so small and unassuming, it's actually very effective and proper endgame sort of thing, but it's not leaning into the overpoweredness that many of these like proper endgame sort of weapon mods do. They've delicately balanced this thing to be just a little bit better in effectiveness than the vanilla game guns, and it means that it feels like it's got the punch, especially on bullet spongy difficulties like this, but it's not gonna run away with the game and like break stuff with it. They've done pretty well here to make it a pretty elegantly fitting in weapon for the game. Thematically though, not being a weapon that is just standard ballistic and stronger than some of your energy weapons might not work for lore friendliness, not to mention a weapon that is modern as this not particularly fitting well in Fallout 4 as it is, but honestly, who cares about lore friendliness? We just want cool shit in Fallout, don't we? Right? Do we care about as much as about the lore as the Bethesda devs do who did Fallout 76? Haha, so I'll dig at that game. I don't know, people really hate that game for no particular reason apart from the fact that its release was bad and its continued lore weirdness, but that's another video entirely. Let's not talk about that. The pistol, it's great. Use it. Check out the link in the description if you're interested. Highly recommend this mod. It's really good. It's lightweight too. A lot of these modern weapon mods, they give you a lot of bloat, like an extra 14 or so retextures of this thing to customize your colors. There's none of that here, so it's actually nice and light on your hard drive too, which is another plus. Always should shout that out if that's a thing. But yeah, if you're interested, check it out. Links in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.